This is Texas News Now, sponsored by Germania Insurance.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Izaguirre, and here are the headlines in North Texas. We begin with shocking allegations from the Department of Justice. They claim well-known rapper Gucci Mane was kidnapped and robbed at gunpoint at a Dallas studio. Now they're investigating 9 suspects for the crime. Among them are other big rappers known as Pooh Shiesty and Big 30. Kevin Reese shares what we're learning about the alleged attack.
January 10th at a recording studio on Dallas Parkway. 2 musicians, one from Atlanta, one from Memphis, agreed to meet. Bradrick Davis, otherwise known as Gucci Mane, and an artist on his 1017 Records label.
The whole world been waiting on it.
Lontrell Williams Jr., known as Pooh Shiesty,
executed a coordinated armed takeover.
Prosecutors say Williams wanted out of his recording contract, brought several associates with him to that meeting, and that Williams Jr. then pulled out what appeared to be a black AK-style pistol from a bag and pointed it at Davis, demanding again that he sign the contractual release paperwork. Prosecutors say one victim was choked until nearly unconscious, and that they robbed the victims of jewelry and Rolex watches and later paraded their prizes on social media. 8 of the 9 suspects were arrested this week.
If you choose to do this, we will, together with our law enforcement partners here and the other ones in the Northern District of Texas, will bring you swiftly to justice.
Wednesday in Memphis, federal agents were seen at Lontrell Williams' home. And those arrested along with him include his own father, Lontrell Williams Sr., shown on surveillance video outside that recording studio.
We remain committed to investigating violent crimes like these. No matter who you are, we will fight every day alongside our partners to make our communities safer.
The suspects face federal charges of kidnapping and conspiracy. Lontrell Williams Jr., a.k.a. Pooh Shiesty, was just released from federal prison last October after serving 3 years for shootings in Florida. In Dallas, I'm Kevin Reese.
After a months-long battle, a Dallas man who's lived in the United States since he was 11 years old is being deported. An immigration judge has just denied Omar Salazar's request to stay in the U.S. He spent most of his life here, graduating from SMU, starting a business, and marrying a U.S. citizen. He was pulled over by Lubbock police for an improper lane change back in August, and those officers contacted ICE. Salazar now has 60 days to leave the U.S. Tonight, his attorneys are considering whether to challenge the ruling. Easter services will go on as planned at Fort Graham Baptist Church in Whitney, despite a devastating fire this week.
We just need bodies, whether they know what they're doing or not.
That's Pastor Brian Hill asking for help after an ATV caught fire and spread to the historic church in Hill County. It also wiped out a thrift store the pastor says helps people in the community. The church hopes volunteers can help fix up a nearby building. The fire didn't touch, so they can host Easter services there on Sunday. A local youth soccer tournament is known for intense competition and showcasing future stars. But as Tiffany Liu reports, for one team of 11-year-old girls, the pressure is nothing compared to what they face back home.
On this massive field in Dallas,
this is Dallas Cup 47.
More than 30 countries are represented by teams and referees.
You know, that's what Dallas Cup is, in essence, is a mini World Cup.
These 14 girls in blue are from Ukraine.
It's so beautiful.
A country they love, but has been a war zone the last 4 years.
I'm from Kherson, but I live in Odessa.
Irina, her mom, and brother fled Kherson after it was occupied by Russia.
My mom woke me up, and we're just starting to drive to another city without my dad.
She does her best to focus on school and soccer.
When I play football, but then the sirens go off, and we have to leave the football pitch or the school and go to the bomb shelter, so it's not really good.
So this week, Irina can just be 11 years old.
I remember like the sirens now, so I can just forget them for now and just be here.
For these girls, it is their first trip to the United States.
My main reason to get the girls out of the war, to be honest.
Locally, Dmitry Jidkov found people and organizations to sponsor and host the team.
It's over $20,000 for one team. And if we can find more sponsors next year, they can bring 2 teams.
And Irina doesn't take it for granted.
I think we couldn't have done it by ourselves. so they helped us a lot.
She will leave North Texas feeling inspired.
For them, I was talking to the coach. He said they're having a blast.
Executive Director Frank Philo says Dallas Cup alumni have participated in more than 550 World Cup matches.
This year alone, 12 countries will have almost 30 players through those 12 countries that have played in the Dallas Cup.
One day could be their turn too.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for everybody that helped us get here, and I'm really thankful for it.
This trip is beyond the game of soccer.
But soccer makes it possible.
In Dallas, I'm Tiffany Liu.
With just 70 days to go until the FIFA World Cup, renovations are underway to turn AT&T Stadium into a soccer field. Now remember, it'll be called Dallas Stadium for the matches, and it does not meet FIFA requirements yet. Crews have to remove some ground-level suites and raise the field by about 4 feet. Here's a look at the months-long process when crews did it for Copa America 2 years ago. The first match at AT&T Stadium will be held on June 14th. It has been months since Fort Worth's Park Glen neighborhood last had to deal with egrets. The giant birds return every year, bringing noise, odor, and sometimes property damage too. Now they're slowly starting to return. And now residents tell Brittany Costello they need help.
The trees used to be part of the appeal.
Adds to the character of our neighborhood.
For people in Fort Worth's Park Glen neighborhood, not anymore.
It's trepidation, it's nervousness when you come through here now.
It's ground zero.
Scanning the horizon, checking the tree canopies.
For what Rick Sharon calls a war.
It feels like we're getting attacked every night.
People who live near Teal and Navajo are ready for the fight. They meet every single night at dusk with noisemakers and air horns to scare off migratory birds called egrets.
The hawk's eyes mimic natural predator.
Gabriel Gabot says it's to prevent the infestation they had last year when more than 1,000 birds nested in the trees behind their home. His video shows poop falling more like rain.
I filled my trash can to the brim multiple times, pretty much on the regular, with bird waste.
Rick Sharon formed a group called the Egret Busters.
This umbrella is for shielding from birds overhead.
To inform people about the birds that are federally protected. If they lay an egg, you can't touch them.
If they get in and get a foothold, we're in trouble.
The city recommends trimming trees and clearing overlapping canopies.
These trees belong to the city of Fort Worth. A spokesperson agrees this is a problem area. They say they've trimmed 30% of the canopy this year. They say that's the max allowed.
Neighbors say it's not enough.
There's a panic talking about it now. Because you're not allowed to do anything.
He says they need help.
It creates hazardous conditions for your health.
Before the birds nest.
Right now, it's this neighborhood's problem. Tomorrow it could be yours.
In Fort Worth, I'm Brittany Costello.
And those are your headlines from North Texas.
I'm Isis Romero, and this is the news in San Antonio. Body camera video of an encounter between Seguin police and a teen on his bike is prompting concerns about police conduct. The footage is raising questions about use of force after the teen was taken to the ground while trying to call his father. Alicia Nieves has the story.
Stop! He's slamming down on the ground. Stop! He's slamming me on the ground.
A late-night bike ride in Seguin, ending with a 16-year-old in handcuffs on the sidewalk. Corey Weber says he and a friend were out riding last September when an officer pulled them over.
He stopped us because I did like a California roll on the stop sign.
I'm not saying you need a driver's license.
Body camera video shows the officer questioning Corey, then telling him not to call his dad.
What did I just say? I said no, right? And now you're calling him. What's wrong with you?
Well, I thought I had the right to call my dad.
Seconds later, the encounter turned physical.
Hey, he's grabbing me. He's grabbing me.
Yeah, roll me another.
Hey, slam me down.
Young, back up. Back up.
Stop. He's slamming me down on the ground.
Corey is handcuffed for about 5 minutes. When he's unhandcuffed, the stop still isn't over. The family says Corey suffered a concussion,
Shut up.
scrapes to his arms and knees, and a hospital bill worth thousands.
There's a lot of the worst things going in Seguin than a teenage kid running a stop sign on a bicycle.
Video also shows the officer taking Corey's phone and asking for the passcode after Corey says he doesn't know his dad's number by heart. His father, Nolan Weber, says that went too far.
That's unlawful search and seizure of someone's private property.
Nolan says yes, his son was wrong to run the stop sign, but he says nothing about this stop justified what happened next.
We all have jobs. If we mess up on our job, we have to be corrected.
Seguin police say the stop was reviewed and defend restricting phone calls during detention, but they wouldn't say if Officer Michael Godinez followed training or if he's still on the job.
They can beat the hell out of people and think they can get away with it.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's time for it to stop happening.
Police ultimately let Corey go without a warning or citation. The Weber family says they filed a formal complaint, and supporters plan to speak at the next city council meeting April 7th. KENS 5 wanted a legal opinion on this case.
Attorney Joe Holscher says officers could question the teen, but what followed may have crossed the line. He calls the use of force and phone search out of line and notes the reported concussion could raise the stakes. Reporting in Seguin, Alicia Nieves, KENS 5.
Dangerous living conditions at a San Antonio apartment complex have tenants worrying about their safety. Now the city is stepping in and ordering tenants to find a new place to live by the end of the week. Zach Briggs spoke with impacted residents.
They should have never put us on the second floor when my girlfriend is 8 months pregnant with the stairs like that.
Here at the Preston Apartments, it's obvious. Stairways run down, rusting and crumbling. On March 14th, Eric Williams became victim to the aged infrastructure outside Building 10.
The stair that I'm on just shifted forward and then I went down. Literally 3 minutes after Friday the 13th. And I went through the stairs.
Eric also went to the hospital.
Hip sprain, thoracic sprain, some cuts and some metal, got some rusty metal in me.
And this is what the staircase at Building 10 looks like today. Check it out. Decrepit and falling apart, the steps themselves still on the ground. And tenants tell me they're absolutely frustrated and can believe that they're having to endure these types of living conditions.
That's scary. Knowing that the stairs could fall, already disabled.
Back in 2023, Shauna Williams moved out of a different apartment complex in town after a fire ripped through the complex. And now she's forced out yet again. The city's notice to vacate affects 34 second-floor units and 8 buildings. Officials citing the dangers posed by these dilapidated stairways. Shauna's just thankful the city's helped her find a new place to live before the Friday deadline.
The city is really a blessing.
Tenants are now learning the complex was bought by DJE Texas Management Group 3 years ago. In February, the CEO, Devin Elder, pleaded guilty to wire fraud tied to a $69 million investment scheme. As for Eric Williams, his lawyers are ready.
I hope he got enough money to cover my lawsuit.
Zach Briggs, KENS 5.
Plans for a new Missions ballpark downtown are pushing ahead. The Historic Review and Design Commission gave a tentative yes to the renderings and the construction this week. Rania Kaur has what's next in the process.
Now, the owners of the Missions baseball team just received a tentative yes. They do still have a couple more steps to do before they get final approval on this design process. These are the most recent renderings of what the Missions baseball park could look like. It'll sit right near San Antonio ISD headquarters on Cameron and Kingsbury streets, though it's not just the baseball stadium we're talking about. The owners also plan to construct around the stadium in what they're hoping will help rejuvenate that part of downtown. Last night, the Historic Review and Design Commission gave the owners preliminary approval of the designs and surrounding development. The developer is now required to coordinate with the San Antonio River Authority over water access stipulations. They must have an archaeological investigation, and the developer is required to submit additional materials for final approval at some point later on. The goal of the owners of the San Antonio Missions is to have that stadium open by opening day 2028. So around this time of year, 2 years from now, we'll be following the process and bringing you the latest on air and online. Rania Kaur, KENS 5.
Camping at city parks is a tradition that goes back generations here in San Antonio. Every year, the city lifts curfews for families looking to celebrate the holiday weekend outdoors. The list of parks include Breckenridge, Southside Lions, MLK, Roosevelt, and more. Because of prolonged dry conditions, fire officials are hoping campers who are cooking outdoors will be extra careful with open flames. And another reminder, you're asked to bring trash bags and get rid of any trash before you leave. The park curfew goes back into effect at 11 p.m. on Easter Sunday. And that's the news in San Antonio.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
Lone Star State has been Lone Star dry. Bill Taylor here, Texas News Now. And we're shifting weather patterns and finally getting some rain in here with high pressure out and at bay, if you will. Now we can get some rain. And this is every Thursday. The drought report, drought monitor is issued and shows us what kind of condition we're in. And you can see that half the state practically is in extreme drought. Wherever you see these red shaded counties, it's a good portion of northeast Texas as well as part of the Red River Valley, but it's truly confined to south central and deep south Texas, where then you run into some pockets of exceptional drought. So even worse than extreme, it is exceptional. But as I mentioned, with this high out of here, now these systems can go to work, and we don't have that cap of warm air aloft to inhibit good convective development. And now we're getting some really good rains as we did early this morning. Now a little bit of a break through Good Friday before the next system moves in. In fact, I think by Friday afternoon, Friday evening, we're going to start seeing a line of storms produced across North Texas. There will be some more upper level energy right in there as this system sweeps through, and there will be a few lingering showers behind the system as we move into Easter Sunday morning. Severe weather threat is for Friday and Friday night. Notice that it's a 1 to level 2. So when we say 1, it's a marginal risk that goes from about Del Rio and the Texas-Mexico border right up through a good chunk of central Texas. And then it changes over to a 2 out of 5, or what we call a slight risk. And that's going to stay just west of Dallas-Fort Worth, but it will include Wichita Falls and some spots just off to the east of Lubbock. Let's take a look at the timing and our future radar hour by hour and what we expect to see on Friday. So here's 7 p.m. During the day of Good Friday, I think it could just be a few isolated showers, nothing too measurable, nothing too heavy. But once we get into the afternoon and evening, you see a line that develops that really kind of branches out of Oklahoma, drops in near Dallas-Fort Worth on Friday evening, 6 to 8 p.m. And then some scattered areas of rain moving through central Texas and perhaps nearing Del Rio as we get into, again, the 7 p.m. hour. But 12 hours from there, and look at how the radar fills in for North Texas. This is Saturday morning. It's going to be very, very wet. Some very heavy rain in the Dallas-Fort Worth area expected on Saturday morning. A few scattered showers across the San Antonio and Austin areas, again, through the morning. But then that line grows down the I-35 corridor, impacts the state capitol, kind of leaning into San Antonio by midday Saturday. And then in the afternoon and evening, it really kind of shifts to a south central Texas event. And then Houston, get ready for a Saturday night of some pretty heavy rain, even a few isolated thunderstorms right on through about the 9 to 10 p.m. hour. Notice that we then get the storms down into deep south Texas, heading towards the Texas coast as we get into Sunday morning. Now, Sunday morning, a lot of sunrise services across the state. Well, in south central Texas and deep south Texas is where we'll worry about rain at sunrise Easter. But notice North Texas will be dry, so we shouldn't expect any rain across our northern cities, if that's where you're traveling for Easter Sunday. But even if we get into like midday Sunday, we still could be seeing some lingering rain across the San Antonio to Houston area, essentially the I-10 corridor. Remember, we're in this pattern now of above average rainfall. We haven't been here in a while, but that's going to be the case for the next 7 to 10 days as this pattern is kind of leaning more towards no high pressure and fronts coming in with plenty of Gulf moisture to work with. Notice the temperatures really won't be going down too much. They will cool a bit as we head into Easter Sunday. If you're traveling by air this Easter weekend, Good Friday might see a delay or two in our nation's capital, then a 40% chance of that precip in Dallas. And then as you get into Saturday, notice it's a little bit better for Philadelphia, D.C., and Chicago as well as Dallas. So a lot of cities could see delays. And if you're traveling by air on Easter Sunday, notice that it's New York, Philadelphia, Atlanta. I mean, some big airports. Even Boston has a high chance of precipitation. Traveling by road, remember that we do have some rain chances pretty much widespread on Saturday. Easter Sunday improves a bit, although we do see rain early in Houston for sure. But by the afternoon and evening, we should be drying out. Corpus Christi looks like a wet Easter for you. 71 is going to be the high. In fact, temperatures, boy, 71 will be the warmest reading across most of our Texas cities on Easter Sunday as we slowly and gradually begin to pick temperatures up, getting into Monday, Tuesday, and then some 80s waiting for us next Thursday. For Texas News Now weather, I'm Bill Taylor.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
Let's take a look at today's headlines across Houston. Hello, I'm Len Cannon. A man is being questioned after investigators say he shot and killed a woman in front of her 2 young children during a possible road rage incident. Sheriff Ed Gonzalez says the man was driving a work van Wednesday afternoon in Northwest Harris County when he moved over to let the woman pass him. He says she got out of her car, upset, and pulled out a gun. The man says he then grabbed his own gun and fired in self-defense. The woman's children, 4 and 8, were in the car watching.
I hear 4 shots go off. I go outside and I see her on the floor, dead. Her gun was on the floor. Her kids were screaming, "Mommy's dead, mommy's dead, mommy's dead," in the car, panicking.
The gunman did stay at the scene and cooperated with authorities. The sheriff says they're also looking into a 911 call the woman made before the shooting about finding a bullet on her car. Now, we don't know if there's any connection there. So far, the man who opened fire has not been charged. The city of Houston now taking steps that could lead to a new name for Cesar Chavez Boulevard following allegations of sexual misconduct by Chavez. Troy Kless explains what's next on our Instagram page.
Today, we received some information from the city of Houston outlining a timeline for what has to happen first before the name is changed. So the city of Houston says starting now, they will be mailing letters to 113 different properties and stakeholders involved in this to inform them of the proposed name change. Then there's going to be a 30-day period from April 1st to May 1st where people can offer comment and suggestions about what the new name should be. Now, after that, on May 13th is when the city is expecting to have a formal vote on changing the name. Today, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia spoke to Houston City Council and suggested that the name should be changed to Dolores Huerta Boulevard in honor of Dolores Huerta, who was involved in the labor movement and who came out just weeks ago with the allegations that Cesar Chavez had sexually abused her. Nothing is finalized about what the new name will be, but what do you think the name will be? We have plenty of information about this story on KHOU.com.
That was Troy Kless reporting. Residents near Houston's East End finally seen some relief after dealing with a persistent water leak for nearly 8 months. The leak created slippery algae-covered sidewalks and raised safety concerns, especially near a local school Aniela Ruiz has the latest on this long-standing problem and how it's finally being addressed.
What was once a slippery stretch of sidewalk is now finally drying up. After 8 months of constant leaking, water that once flowed through this East End neighborhood, leaving behind algae and dangerous conditions, has started to disappear.
I'm thankful that it's getting fixed, but why did it take so long?
Just weeks ago, neighbors told us they were fed up.
The city says it's HISD's problem, and HISD says it's the city's problem, and nobody wants to appear to do anything about it.
For months, they say nothing changed until this story aired. After reaching out to both the city of Houston and HISD and getting no response, we ran the story anyway. The very next day, crews showed up.
There was a crew from HISD back over at the Baylor Magnet School to do a little bit more work to find out just how bad the problem is so that they can assess it.
And after weeks of reaching out to HISD via email and phone, today they finally responded with this statement, saying addressing this particular leak near the campus involved communication between HISD and the city of Houston, ensuring we were informed and that our resources were properly aligned, as well as prioritization to minimize campus disruption as the water needed to be shut off. The broken underground line that caused the leak has been repaired, but no real clarification on why it took 8 months to address.
Why does it take us contacting the media for it to be resolved?
While we were interviewing neighbors, some even interrupting our interview, wanting to share their frustration.
Finally fixed.
Yes!
I have been here for 5 years, and it's always been slime covered.
What was once a safety hazard right next to a school is now on its way to being fixed. A long-standing problem finally seeing change.
Really glad you covered this local story because it enacted real positive change. Thank you, because this has been
Anayeli Ruiz, KHOU 11 News.
Getting solutions, getting results. A Fort Bend ISD teacher going national, and her students are making sure she doesn't go alone. A Travis High School English teacher now in the top 20 of a nationwide competition looking for the best teacher in America. The real story here isn't the prize, it's the impact this teacher is having in her classroom. Michelle Choi talks to her.
What's up? How's it going? Look, wave hi!
Inside this classroom at William B. Travis High School, it's easy to see Amy Hartley isn't just teaching English.
So today let's have a little bit of fun.
She's building connection, confidence, and community.
It's just so meaningful to do work that allows you the opportunity to be there for them and help them.
Now that passion.
Teaching is where I feel most comfortable and my heart feels happiest in the classroom.
Is getting national recognition.
America's favorite teacher. Wow. Top 20. What do you think?
I am stunned. I just signed up for this contest on a whim. I thought it would be fun. I thought the prizes were amazing to bring Bill Nye the Science Guy to our school.
And the prizes don't stop there. $25,000 award for her school and even a trip to Hawaii. Excitement she's been sharing both in the classroom and on social media.
I'm just here to say thank you because we made it into the top 20. Woo! Bill!
Realizing how much this community is rallying for you to win this all the way, how does it make you feel?
It's really incredible.
Her students right there with her every step of the way.
I voted for her right away.
She makes everybody feel so comfortable. She just makes learning so fun.
You can see that love and support written all over the classroom too, from handmade posters, "We Heart Hartley," to notes, "You're the sweetest teacher ever," and messages she shares with her students every day. "I believe in you." For Hartley, this moment is bigger than any competition.
I feel like anything is possible, and that's also what I want to show my students, is that you need to believe in yourself and go after what you want.
That's the teachable moment and lesson for your kids, right?
Exactly.
And with a classroom full of support behind her.
Do you think Miss Hartley can go all the way and win America's favorite teacher?
Yeah! She just might. In Richmond, Michelle Choi, KHOU 11 News.
How about that? The value of a great teacher, priceless. That's a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Len Cannon.
I'm Adrian Carbajal. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. A new bill is creating a pathway for Medicare to cover a groundbreaking new blood test that can detect up to 50 types of cancer at once. Our Juliana Jackson tells us about two women who helped advocate for the change.
Karen Haley Dungan works at her salon every day.
Still have a voice, and I feel like it is my purpose to use that voice to help other people.
She's a 33-year cancer survivor, and for nearly 2 decades, she's had a second job, helping other people during their own cancer battles.
Sad emotion for the women who weren't able to utilize that early cancer detection tool.
Her fight alongside the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network is changing lives.
It's just going to change the way things are done.
The Nancy Gardner Sewell Medicare Multi-Cancer Early Detection Screening Coverage Act is now federal law. The group says this is a game changer because one blood draw can test up to 50 cancers at once.
Cancer was decreased by 33%. Early detection is the key.
But Karen didn't do it alone. Lacey Landry came in for a haircut one day and left with a mission. Her mother is a breast cancer fighter, and she says she knows firsthand why this work matters.
Those who are affected by cancer, because we all know that everyone, whether it's you personally or someone around you, is affected by cancer.
Texas funds millions of dollars in cancer research every year, and this group is already working on the next bill, but says with a new class of lawmakers in Austin, advocates worry the funding could fall through the cracks if legislators don't understand what's at stake. But these women say they're ready to take on that mission.
We've got a lot of educating to do.
More than 274,000 applications were submitted for Texas Education Freedom accounts before the deadline closed on March 31st. That's according to the Texas Comptroller's Office. Dee Carney, the director for the Texas Center for Voucher Transparency, says it's no surprise that that's many applicants, with the state being as big as Texas. But what she's questioning is how many of those students will actually get a voucher and how many will be accepted into private school. According to the data, 75% of applicants were not in a Texas public school. They were already in private school, homeschooled, or never in school at all. But the application was universal and open to all. Here's what we saw in Central Texas. Killeen ISD, our largest district, had over 2,000 applicants. Waco and Belton ISDs were in the 900s, followed by Midway at nearly 750 and Temple at 541. But the data will change based on what comes next, tiering and selection.
You're going to have to wait a few more months, right, for the tiering process to happen. So you've got who has applied, then who gets the voucher, and then will the school accept them? And those numbers, they will change based on who is enrolled or who is accepted into a private school.
The priority tiers begin with students with disabilities and families making $165,000 or less in income, then low-income families making roughly $65,000 or less in a family of 4. The $1.1 billion in funds will trickle down the tiers until they reach a tier where they can't cover all students, where they will run a lottery. And those are your headlines from Central Texas.
Hi, I'm Leslie Adamy in Corpus Christi, and here's a look at some of what's happening here in South Texas. Governor Greg Abbott is calling for a full investigation into the Nueces River Authority after its own chief operating officer accused executive director John Byram of presenting false information to the board. In a statement, the governor is saying, quote, every member of a Texas board or commission should uphold the highest standards of integrity, transparency, and accountability in the service of the people of Texas. COO Travis Pruski says Byram reported 36 million gallons per day of water sold for the Harbor Island Desalination Project, when internal data showed closer to 21 million. Governor Abbott is putting the NRA board on notice, expecting them to act swiftly once the investigation wraps up. And the Nueces and Frio rivers are the lifeline of our region, winding their way down from the headwaters all the way back to the coastal bend. But as drought conditions worsen, those waterways are beginning to change. Our Michael Gibson takes us upstream.
In our series, taking a look at where the Nueces River actually begins, we cannot forget about the Frio River, which eventually connects to the Nueces River. Now, we've got a gentleman over here that owns probably one of the nicest spots along the Frio River, just north of Lakey. This is Rob Goebel. He is the owner of Riverstone Cabins.
Yes, sir.
This is an oasis.
Oh, thank
and we
you.
just happened to stumble upon it. We drove down the road and just decided to take a chance.
Yeah, well, you know, you're always going to find the best spots, right? And you found the best spot on the Frio.
Where does all this water come from?
It comes out of springs, actually. You know, the Frio's created at the headwaters. You're at the headwaters of the Frio. It's created by 9 big springs. The HEB Foundation and a ranch called Big Springs Ranch own 8 of them, and I have the 9th. And there's some smaller springs as you go down through the Frio, but the headwaters, you're standing at it. So it comes out of the Edwards Aquifer, deep, deep underground.
Now, you were telling me you did some coaching up until COVID,
Yeah.
and when COVID ended, you really didn't want to go back. And how did you end up getting this place? You can't stumble upon something like this, can you?
You can. I'm a man of faith. It's a God thing. It just, he told me I needed to do something else and pursue something else, and I kind of fought it, and I came over here with a friend. It was listed. It had sat empty actually for some time, and I was blessed enough to be able to take it over. So.
And
Yeah.
what do you think about the problems we're having in Corpus Christi getting water? You know, the Frio eventually connects to the Nueces and goes into Lake Corpus Christi. What about your observations about what's going on? Because you don't seem to have to worry about water.
You know, I don't, but it breaks my heart, and I really don't understand it. And I feel for the folks in Corpus. I have friends and family that have homes down there and are facing it. And friends that are farmers down there. And so I've been it's crazy that you showed up today, because I was even talking about this last night with a friend that is out of the Sinton area. And I just don't understand why y'all don't have the water, because, you know, I was telling one of your partners that are with you is when we had our 2 floods back in July, I could not believe that water wasn't able to reach you guys. But I know we're all in extreme drought, and we've got to fill up the aquifers and stuff. And I'm just praying that, you know, it gets to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goebel. We appreciate you allowing us on your property. It's just beautiful. And we need to show you guys how good this water actually looks. I'm not even afraid to walk into it. I wouldn't do this in the Nueces River by Corpus Christi. But look at this, just beautiful water. And again, this is just one of many stories we're going to have on the beginnings of the Nueces River and the Frio River. Back to the studios.
Well, thank you, Michael, and a big thank you to Rob as well. More to come there. That's a quick look at some of what's happening here in South Texas.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
I'm Quita Culpepper. The National Weather Service reports an EF0 tornado touched down near Giddings in Lee County. Emergency management officials estimate the wind speeds tied to this storm were between 60 and 70 miles an hour. The storm caused some damage to roofs and some businesses in downtown Giddings. No injuries were reported. At least one person was hurt in an explosion in Taylor. Officials say it happened outside a home on Gray Street. One person had to be airlifted to a hospital. Investigators don't know exactly what caused the explosion, but they tell us the person who was hurt appeared to have been working on the house. Artemis tells us it responded to the home, but natural gas was not involved in the incident. No word yet on what exactly caused the explosion. A new safety campaign from TxDOT is highlighting the growing danger for pedestrians and cyclists on Texas roads. An Austin cyclist we spoke with is sharing his story after a devastating crash forced him to relearn how to walk. Reporter Jose Alonso has more on what TxDOT says needs to change in order to keep people safe.
With caution signs lining streets across Austin, the city might give the impression of being a safe place to bike or walk.
I was a cyclist for a while until I
was in a pretty serious accident right over here.
The intersection of Dean Avenue and Georgian Drive.
I was on my bike. I was riding this way through the bike lane.
Is where in 2024, Austin resident Brian Kite was hit by a car.
I saw somebody coming. She was driving a Ford Expedition and she had her blinker on, and I was trying to make eye contact with her to make sure that she saw me. In that split second that it happened, I remember thinking, there's no way this is happening. And then landing on the ground and being like, ow, I'm in a lot of pain. Something serious is going on. I actually had to call 911 myself.
TxDOT says most crashes that killed pedestrians or cyclists in 2024 took place within urban areas of Texas, and that includes cities like Austin. In a video recorded by TxDOT, a department spokesperson says 1 in 5 traffic deaths involves a pedestrian or cyclist in Texas.
In 2024, 772 pedestrians and 80 bicyclists were killed on Texas roadways.
Kite says he's glad to be alive, but he did undergo a 6-month-long recovery journey.
My femur broke in half, and they say that's the most difficult bone in your body to break. I was in a walker, and I couldn't really rely on my left leg for anything. And if all it is getting drivers to understand like the danger that they might be putting someone in when they fail to yield, when they don't pay attention, I want to use what happened to me to speak on that.
Kite says he's lucky and hopes his story saves lives. In Austin, Jose Alonso, KVUE News.
The city of Taylor is known for its small town charm, but lately it's also become known for its growing duck population. City leaders say there are too many ducks. Reporter Daniel Gomez shows us why they're taking steps to address concerns.
Taylor is filled with more than just Texans like Kenny Fain.
I'm driving around town and, you know, there's these duck crossing signs, which are really cool.
Taylor is also home to a large duck population. So much so, the city hatched these signs around town.
I saw something about that and I'm like, there's overpopulation of ducks? I don't even understand that.
Fain calls foul.
And now, what is there, 8 or 10 out there?
But the city believes the community has been too welcoming to the birds lately.
Neighbors are feeding the ducks in their front yards, and so you will see 20, 25 ducks go line up.
Parks and Rec Interim Director Betsy Schultz asks everyone to remember this.
So part of the issue and part of the campaign that we call it Duck Responsibly, because we want to think about our ducks and we want to be responsible and do the best for our ducks.
The message, no feeding the ducks.
They defecate on sidewalks. And also when they're doing that, they're crossing the streets, which unfortunately ends up with sometimes we have ducks that are hit by cars and are become deceased.
In addition to the overpopulation of ducks, the city of Taylor is also dealing with an invasive species. These green ducks, mallards, are native to Taylor. These red, white, multicolored ducks, Muscovies, are not. The city hired a company to track Muscovy eggs and prevent them from hatching.
It's a humane way of not allowing the overpopulation to continue, because these ducks, one duck will have 15 babies at a time.
Schultz says too many ducks pollute the waters, the grass, and can cause health issues. The city just wants everyone to enjoy the quacks without providing the birds snacks. Daniel Gomez, KVUE News.
The Austin City Council is making it easier for people to run small businesses right from their front yards. The new rules aim to boost entrepreneurship, but some Austinites are raising concerns. Reporter Brianna Perez explains what's changing and who could benefit most from the move.
These are a huge customer favorite, so I'm about to make the cream filling that goes in the middle.
Kelly Masters
and a little salt.
Says baking is her passion.
Vanilla you just feel, you don't measure.
One she's used to bring smiles to her neighbors while also making extra money on the side.
My neighbors love it and they look forward to it every single week.
Thanks to a new city council resolution encouraging front yard businesses, this kind of home-based baking could become more common.
It's very therapeutic in a way. You can make the best food in the world, but it doesn't matter if you don't have anywhere to sell it. And a big problem they've been facing is that most cities' ordinances prohibit you having a visible business.
With this new resolution, we could see more mobile markets like this pop up around neighborhoods, selling everything from baked goods to arts and crafts. Residents say it would not only boost walkability, but also create new revenue opportunities.
This is really an opportunity for people to be able to supplement their income and use that to address some of the rising costs of living that we're currently dealing with.
City officials say this resolution builds on a recent Texas state law protecting cottage food operations and no-impact home businesses, which must run from inside the house. Austin leaders wanted to go one step further.
With the front yard business model, what we have done is taken the advances that the legislature has made and said, you can bring it outside of your home.
Meanwhile, some worry this resolution goes too far.
Austin doesn't require parking. I expect that circular driveways will be needed for customers. Besides added traffic, I worry about noise.
Officials say that won't be the case, and before it can move forward, the city will launch a 12-month neighborhood storefront program to test it out. Staff will return to council in 90 days with an outline. Masters hopes this will create more opportunities for people across Austin.
Big things have to start small. Things don't just automatically start big with a bakery storefront. They start in your home kitchen.
In Austin, Brianna Perez, KV News.
And that's all from us here in Austin. Hope you have a great day.
Here are your headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Mark Armstrong. More than a year after video of a Beaumont police officer punching a man on the ground spread online, the city is still denying our request for the body cam footage. In 2025, the city got an attorney general ruling withholding the footage while that case was still pending in court. Well, the city turned us down again this year, saying that nothing had changed in that case, but Beaumont police have since said that prosecutors did in fact decline the case. And the former Silsbee animal control officer arrested last month for improperly euthanizing dogs has a new charge against him. Joshua Nolan was arrested Tuesday on a misdemeanor cruelty to non-livestock animals charge. Investigators say that Nolan used his personal pistol with a suppressor to kill dogs at a shelter. And 2 Port Arthur facilities have been fined by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality for air pollution violations. The Chevron Phillips petrochemical plant was fined more than $180,000 this week. The facility released 21,000 pounds of ethylene back in 2022. The payments, they were split in half, with fines going to the state and the Southeast Texas Regional Planning Commission for local environmental programs. And then the waste management facility, Viola Technical Solutions, they were also fined $11,000 for exceeding carbon monoxide limits from its incinerator, also back in 2022. They paid it in full. Beaumont is rolling out several new efforts to try to curb violence right now, and a new faith-based group is joining that push. Led by Pastor Clarence Brown, a new coalition is forming focused on reaching families and youth before problems escalate. What started with just 5 pastors has quickly grown to more than 17 churches in less than a month, including St. Mark's Episcopal Church. Leaders say the goal is to step in early, offering guidance, resources, and support before law enforcement has to get involved.
This coalition came into existence after viewing and examining all of the violence that were going on in our city. We all got together and decided that it was time for the church to do something.
And the group is now exploring ways to turn that mission into action, including potential hotline for families in crisis and outreach programs in underserved neighborhoods. Leaders say that their ultimate goal is to make Beaumont a safer place by stopping violence before it ever begins. And changes are now in effect for Texans who use SNAP benefits to buy their groceries, and that affects what you're allowed to purchase with the Lone Star cards. The state is restricting certain items like candy and sugary drinks. We're talking about items restricted, including candy bars, gum, taffy, nuts, candied fruits, and sweetened drinks that contain 5 or more grams of added sugar. Recipients, they can still buy items like milk and dairy alternatives, juice with at least 50% fruit or vegetable content, low sugar drinks, and certain electrolyte beverages. But as the rules change, some say the bigger challenge isn't what they can buy, it's what they can afford. 12 News reporter Spencer Plato has more details.
A policy change sparking conversation across Texas and here at home
As the state moves to limit certain SNAP purchases, reactions are pouring in online, with hundreds weighing in on both sides of the debate, some supporting the move.
This is not policing the food industry. The money should be used for food, not candy and sodas.
And some calling for flexibility.
I think there should be one exception to this rule. Now, if there's children in the home on the month of their birthday, I believe a certain amount of dollars should be allowed so the kiddo can have a proper birthday celebration.
State leaders say the goal is improving public health.
Making Texas healthy, it's not complicated. It's the usual stuff, eating right, exercising, doing the things that will help to prevent illness. Chronic diseases, such as obesity and diabetes, are due in part to ultra-processed foods, poor nutrition, and lack of exercise.
But one Lamar economist says the issue runs deeper.
High prices at the grocery store. They're feeling that pinch.
Calling it an affordability crisis as food prices climbed 3.5% this year.
Food at home costs, they've been going up and up and up, particularly since the COVID. And they haven't really they've been slowing down the price increases, but they're still rising almost as fast as workers' wages, which is eating into their standard of living.
And that was Spencer Plato reporting. You can find more information on SNAP benefits at Texas Health and Human Services website. And those were the headlines from Southeast Texas.
Hi, I'm Brennan Gurley, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas. For the first time in more than 50 years, humans are back on a path to the moon. NASA's Artemis 2 successfully lifted off, but here at home, not everyone was watching. CBS 19's Nayeli Creo has the story.
Inside the planetarium at Tyler Junior College, the future of space is already on display.
We have lots of great programs about space and science. We also have a program about the Artemis mission called Forward to the Moon. The science behind it, why we are wanting to send people back to the moon.
Wednesday, Artemis 2 lifted off, pushing humanity one step closer to returning to the moon after more than 50 years. But in East Texas, many people missed it. Do you think that you're going to see it on social media?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably Instagram, Twitter, you know, the viral like TikToks.
For some, the mission sparks curiosity, imagining what the astronauts must be feeling aboard.
Prepared but also scared, maybe anxious a little bit, because, you know, you're leaving Earth.
That sense of risk is real.
I think they understand the nature of being in a test vehicle. You still cannot underestimate the fact that they are sitting on basically 2 sticks of dynamite and liquid fuel. This is a dangerous environment. We're working in a more dangerous environment.
Scott Lieberman, a freelance photographer for the Associated Press, has followed space missions since the original moon landing and says astronauts were household names.
They were a central part of life. They were the pop figures of my childhood.
But today, with information everywhere, he says moments like this can get lost.
And so now everybody has a pocket computer that actually has a feed to absolutely everything happening in the world, so everyone knows nothing now.
At the Earth and Space Science Center, the goal is to change that.
It's kind of fallen out of recent memory, and so that's why we're trying to help educate the public.
Because this mission isn't just about going back. It's about what comes next.
To create a permanent base on the moon and use that as a stepping stone forward to even future missions to Mars and beyond.
Godspeed and good luck.
That was Nayeli Carrillo reporting. A Grammy-nominated rapper, Afroman, known for his party anthems, is bringing the good times to East Texas and making headlines offstage, too. CBS 19's Robertella Garza was at Red Rooster Ice House ahead of his show.
At the Red Rooster in Hawkins, regulars and first-timers packed the Ice House Wednesday, not just for Cold Pines.
I'm really excited. I've been an Afroman fan for many years, since he first came out.
Grammy-nominated rapper Afroman made it a stop in East Texas as part of his nationwide tour.
I was like, I gotta go. I hope he shows up. This is be awesome. So if you're here, Afroman, come on out. We're ready to see you.
Best known for his hits Lemon Pound Cake.
I just came for the Lemon Pound Cake.
And Colt 45.
Colt 45, 2 zigzags, baby, that's all we need.
But now he's still making headlines. winning a defamation lawsuit after dropping satirical videos mocking Ohio deputies who raided his home in a case that led to no charges.
To stand up for his rights like that, I just had to come and support him.
But a jury sided with Afroman, ruling his videos were protected free speech, not defamation. Since then, owner Taylor Young says,
like right after that happened, we sold like 50, 60 tickets.
Wow. His music, a mix of hip hop and comedy, resonating with fans of all ages.
I used to listen to his music when I was a lot younger, and I'm starting to listen to it again because I'm becoming another fan of it again.
We are so excited.
Some people even rocking that iconic fro.
And listen, this is fun. We're out here having a good time.
And in a small town like Hawkins, it's proof his music and his message still pack a house after all these years. For CBS 19, I'm Robert De La Garza.
And that's your East Texas headlines for today. I'm Brendan Gurley.
Texas News Now is sponsored by Germania Insurance.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.